Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Brian.
And I'm Mike.
And this has got our attention. This week, Mike is remote, so he'll be speaking to us over the phone.
Hello.
Mike, let's just start off. What have you been playing this week?
Well, this week I haven't been playing a whole lot. I got to play a little bit on Sunday. I checked out Satisfaction. It's like a automation, first-person sort of shooter. I wouldn't say shooter, but a first-person exploration survival in a weird planet-type space thing. I don't know how to explain it yet. I really enjoyed it so far, though. The automation part has been really cool. I've only been playing it for about an hour so far, but things look good. What about you?
Sure. I've been playing a couple of things. Raft, I've probably been playing the most of, mostly because of doing some testing that I've been doing. It's a really great game for doing that because it's kind of chill and lets you relax a little bit in between things while you're looking at other things like your stream. But I've been having fun with it too. And it's multiplayer, so I can't wait to get you into it, Xycia, as well as maybe even some of our viewers. We'll have to see about that. In addition, I've been playing Just Shapes and Beats. We've had a lot of people that were really excited to see that played. I even had somebody come in that needed help pass the level, and it just so happened to be like one of the few levels that I remember from playing this game
Nice.
well over a year ago, where I knew a couple of like hints and tips of where to go during certain parts of the cycle. So I was able to actually help out a viewer that way.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and start getting into the news here. So the first thing that we saw this week is PlayStation has announced for their 20th year anniversary and 10 years of PlayStation Plus as a thank you for the support. They're gonna they've released a few new games for their PlayStation Plus, and the 10th year anniversary is released NBA 2K20, and they also released Rise of Tomb Raider. The 20th year celebration. Sorry, that's what I meant to say earlier, not 20 years on the PlayStation side. They also released a bonus game, Erica.
What's Erica? I haven't heard of that one.
You may not have heard of Erica. Well, let me, as many haven't. But basically, Erica is a kind of like a mystery game based on actual video that they've recorded. So it's actually like almost like playing through a movie. Seemed interesting. I haven't actually had a time to check it out yet. But as soon as they announced this, which was interesting, of course, Twitter blew up because everyone was already in an upset mode for the games they released because of the fact that some of these games, like 2K10, actually was released on a sale, I think a few months ago for like $2 or $3, and it's not something that most people would have expected. Along with Tomb Raider, they also got that pretty cheap recently as well. So from much of the tweets that I saw, that most people are kind of upset about it. Just the fact that if this is something that they're trying to say, this is a thank you for support, they kind of went really weak on the two top. And then I would say probably Erica is probably going to be the most interesting game where you can make the decisions based on what and your outcome changes based on that. But that's what they were saying.
Yeah, it seems a bummer that they got upset about getting some games for free. I get that NBA 2K20 just recently was on sale and for not too much. But in fact, NBA 2K21 is right around the corner for being released. But I mean, they're also getting free games, and maybe somebody hadn't played Rise of the Tomb Raider yet, and this would be a great way to get them into it.
Yeah, I mean that's usually with like that, and even and actually the next thing I'm going to talk about is usually how I get a lot of games and get to play them, and it's free. I mean, you can't be upset with free. I mean, really can't. Yeah. I used to also play a lot of Xbox and got the Xbox Pass, and they started giving out free games as well. And speaking of Xbox, Microsoft also has decided to have a release of a thing called a Summer Games Festival, similar to we talked about Steam last week or a few weeks ago about how Steam was holding a Summer Game Festival as well. And with the times that we have right now, as far as like, coronavirus is pretty much rampant throughout the world, and a lot of things, conventions and such, are getting canceled. We talked about PAX having an online PAX this year. Looks like Microsoft has done the same thing, and they're holding a online Summer Games Festival, which is going to have what they've mentioned over 60 plus demos that you can actually play live with different people and the different games that are still being developed.
Yeah,
basically something to kind of compete with like E3 or PAX.
Yeah, that actually sounds very similar to the PAX Online, where in replacement of their expo floor, that they were working with developers to release demos of games that hadn't been released yet. And that looks very much like what this news article is talking about with the Xbox Games of Summer, where they're going to have it even says in the article 75 to 100 demos, not necessarily all of unreleased games, but a lot of them, 60 plus brand new games. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get that that early on access to the consumer, especially in the day and the age where we don't have our cartridges anymore, right? And we're not even really CDs at this point. A lot of digital downloads. It's really great that you can actually get a part of that, especially during that building process, to really help your consumer feel like they have an input in something, to kind of help shape your game. Because I mean, we all know in the past there's been plenty of times where big AAA makers like EA and many others have decided they put out like that tweet and they say, we're gonna do this in the new game, and then they immediately get flagged back, like, oh my god, why are you doing said thing? And they immediately pull it back. So it's a good thing like that. They can at least get that platform out there. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, as long as there are demos in the old term of demos, which is that it's a very limited playthrough of it, because one of the problems that we've had with like early access, where the entire game is available, but it's just in an early state and it doesn't, isn't necessarily full featured or has some bugs in it, is that people play through enough of it and very much like us with short attention spans, they move on to the next game and they never come back to that game once it's truly released. So I'm looking forward to this to being, short, small, bite-sized bits of the game to get us interested in it so that we will come back to it later.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be honest, like some of the best times I've ever had was back in PlayStation 1 era, when they used to release those jam packs. I would go to like Walmart and pick them up for like $5, and it would just be just a slew of different demos. And I think one of the ones that I played the most was probably it was a dirt bike game. I think it was MX Cross or one of those games. But basically, it was like a 2-minute demo where he shot you out of the tunnel and immediately you hit a jump. And me and my brother actually almost broke the game to the point where we figured out the physics so much that we would come out and we would get like hundreds of thousands of points, and you're only supposed to get like maybe 50,000. And we would just completely break the game. And that was some of the best times I've ever had. So that's it's pretty exciting to see some demos hitting the store again.
Excellent. Good to hear. What about this Discord thing that I've heard about?
Yeah, so actually, it's funny because we do a lot of Discord with our group, and then also with right now we kind of communicate with Discord. So Discord announced earlier this week that they're going to try to start rebranding. And when I say that, don't get scared. So far, all that's been said is that they're wanting to rebrand to shift away from gaming. The way that Discord has been running so far, and kind of the way it's come up in the community is based through gaming. It's a place to join, kind of replaced like the TeamSpeak servers where you had to really pay, and it's something that kind of took off. Even used GameVox for a while, and Discord kind of just came out of nowhere, and it was still free. You can make your own, almost like a community page where you could meet with your friends and then post articles and different pages and different things like that. And it seems now what they're doing with the whole shift of everybody kind of wanting to have a place to meet, especially with the COVID times, that they're actually going to try to open up and rebrand as a platform for everyone, not necessarily just gamers. From an article here.
I think that's fantastic because, we've been using it ourselves, like I said, to, try to build our community up. And one of the things that they were talking about is, being able to increase the number of video calls that they have as well, and fix bugs, things like that, so that like people can connect regardless of whether they're gamers, whatever community that they want to build.
Right. Actually, one of the Engage article that I'm reading here, I'll quote them, but basically it says Discord said, games are what brought as many of you on this platform, and we'll always be grateful for that, the company said. And then today, many of you use Discord from day-to-day communications. You sharing thoughts about books, music, and art, creating servers to be yourself and share moments with your friends. So it's basically, they definitely sound right now that they're respecting the community for helping them kind of build, which is great because, I mean, it's something that you can't get away from. I mean, this is kind of like what it's been. But even over the times, like there's a group that I'm a part of right now it's a socially distancing group, and it was created during this time where we have a lot of friends that were gamers and a lot of like tabletop people we used to get together, and we can't do that now. And
Yeah,
it's a great way that we can still communicate.
I think that's really important too, is that this isn't Discord deciding to change how they're going to do their platform. In fact, it's still going to be called Discord, which means basically conversation. They're actually just recognizing that their product is being used more for gaming. So they're trying to make sure that people know that, hey, we hear you. We hear that you're doing something other besides just gaming discussions on this, that you're using this for other types of communities. Again, bringing it back to the podcast, this is a fantastic way to bring a podcast community together. If I can signal boost one of the podcasts that I listen to, Generation Conversation, that's with no S on the end, which is a great podcast about, two different generations being able to talk together about topics and, show their different perspectives on it. This would give them the ability to create a place for the community that they're building to come together and continue those conversations in a forum type discussion, or even with voice or video as well.
Right. And just, in anything, having that ability to be able to bring in the listener and be able to have that conversation with the listener, and then be able to just, talk amongst people who are interested in the same thing. And that's really what, Discord, I think, has recognized as well, that, they've really brought a lot of people together.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things that they definitely want everybody to know that it's just not a gaming thing. Obviously, they respect where they came from, but they're just trying to let everybody know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like using platforms or products for a little bit different than what they originally intended, I ran across this interesting thing where Animal Crossing New Horizons, there's a lot of people that are actually using it to basically build memorials for lost loved ones.
Oh, wow.
Whether this one person was talking about having lost her mother, and that every time that she logs out sitting down in the stone next to her mother's memorial, and that she was walking along and thought of this idea because she saw this bright yellow flower, she remembered how her mom liked those, so she, being an interior decorator, had covered her island with these flowers of different types, and has this nice little memorial set up. Another person in this article on Polygon, by the way, talks about a memorial to her husband that had passed away early. And it's a great way to have loved ones kind of live on in this game that we're playing. And it was so interesting to listen to this, because I was like, I've heard of something like this before, but maybe kind of in the opposite way. And that's when, I looked it up again, and Engadget article back in November 19th, 2007. So 13 years ago, talking about Animal Crossing on the GameCube. And this all,
of course,
this all started. There was a comic that someone put together that kind of chronicled what had happened for this person who lived in Korea, who had bought Animal Crossing, and they kind of played it for a little bit, and their brother kind of played it for a little bit. But her mother had polio and also started having multiple sclerosis. And so she introduced her mother to the game, being that she couldn't move around as much. And this allowed her to, really engage with her daughter a little bit. Well, her daughter only played it for a little bit longer and stopped playing it. And her mother eventually succumbed to multiple sclerosis and passed away. And her daughter, just one day out of a lark, logged into Animal Crossing and found out that her mother had continued playing it and continued finding things that she thought her daughter might like, and sending her notes and these gifts to her account. And it was really great, because it was really like, her mother was still kind of there in a way, very much like these memorials that we're seeing in the newest Animal Crossing. So it was a really, touching thing. It was really interesting to see how, regardless of the technology 13 years ago versus today, that it still could be used for some of the similar things.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's great that, especially with, I know Animal Crossing for one has been a huge community of people. Especially, I think I think Nintendo didn't really mean to release it at the time that the perfect time that they did,
Yeah.
but it's perfect because everybody wants to play and it gives everybody a sense of social interaction with people that they don't typically get to do at this point. So even with that, bringing their little piece of their lives into that virtual reality to have them, be able to escape and really just live their little, farm life. It's great. I think it's pretty awesome.
Very awesome.
So in other, I guess, kind of down news, but not really. We heard a huge announcement today that Amazon has tweeted out that they're going to start doing a live action new TV series. And what new TV series may that be? I am actually pretty excited about this. But what they released was a little teaser video. All it showed was the Bethesda logo, sort of the shimmering scrolling of a TV flickering, and then after that, all you saw was "Please stand by," which is the total, here's Fallout. Here we are. We're going to start having a Fallout TV show, and that's pretty much all that we know. There's been some rumors going around. Apparently, it's going to be involved with the Westworld creators. That they're actually the ones behind this. So Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan are apparently the ones going to be working this along the sides with Bethesda. So all we really know at this time is it's going to be an Amazon Prime original. They're gonna obviously have, I would hope, some sort of storyline. But the only thing that concerns me with everything is typically Fallout's not really one that has a protagonist. So I'm curious to see how they kind of spin that up. Especially with the last game being, based on online and not really having any NPCs or any type of story, and they kind of slowly put that in there. I'm hoping this isn't really another Bethesda cash grab, which potentially could be part of that, but I'm hoping that, with the Westworld creators they can potentially, capitalize on this market that we've seen, games turn into like huge series like The Witcher, from Netflix. And
well, I mean, you're talking about the people who made Westworld, and you should go back and watch the original Westworld movie. You talk about absolutely. A movie that's kind of low on plot, and it's just like this robot goes haywire and starts killing people, and they were able to take that and change that into the Westworld series, and then bring in a lot of moral quandaries and, like what is life, and, what's the meaning of it and what qualifies as something being alive. And they're able to do that from that source material. I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to do something with Fallout.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the actual Westworld original movie, it was based on just the park, and then how they kind of took that and expanded on the world in a sense of what's, it's not just Westworld. There's other worlds out there that they exist and the scientists behind it and all. So yeah, I mean, I think they'll do a good job. I just hope, Bethesda doesn't get too much involved wanting, as much as what they want in the game or in the movie or the show or whatever it be. But also right now, there's also other games to mention too, or other shows, because it's been announced recently that HBO has rights for The Last of Us. They haven't really talked about that much yet, but it's in the works, along with Showtime, who's got Halo.
Last of Us. Well. That sounds like the wrong thing to do with the current state of being, where we have enough people with isolation and people getting angry over small things.
Yeah, I mean, it may be another like Mr. Robot, where things happen and then all of a sudden here we are in the real world seeing the same type of thing.
Except but, now it's the opposite.
We'll see what it is. Yeah.
Okay, well,
looking forward to that.
Yeah, the other big story that we have, or at least last large story that we have, something that broke probably, I think it was about 4 hours ago. Ubisoft has actually announced that they are throwing their hat into the Battle Royale ring. And
yay!
Yeah, you say that.
Another Battle Royale.
And it's like, what new can they bring to this? And they've got some kind of cool ideas, it sounds like, where they have, the concept is that you're doing a Battle Royale. It's 100 people divided into teams of 3. I don't think that they've been taught math yet. That'd probably be 99 is a little bit better for that. But they are all battling out like a Battle Royale in a virtual reality world that is based off of Paris. So one of the new things there is that instead of having like, areas where you have fields and bushes and trees and forests, and then you have some areas with buildings and stuff like that, this entire area is going to be urban. It is going to be close in buildings, tall buildings like Paris, a lot of verticality. There's going to be jump pads where you're jumping up and you're going to be able to double jump. They're going to be able to, since it's virtual reality, play with the concept of weapons. They're going to have, the standard weapons that we're used to, but they're also going to have, plasma type weapons and energy type weapons and some more exotic things like that. Also, it sounds like what they're trying to do is very much what League of Legends did to Dota, which is taking a popular, more complex game and pulling away some of the complexity and making it a little bit more user-friendly and more open for the masses. And they're doing stuff like that. Instead of, picking up a weapon and picking up modifications for it, scopes, or picking up, modifications for your armor. Instead, if you have a particular weapon like a shotgun or a sniper rifle, if you see another one laying around or see it in a chest and you pick up another of the same weapon, it automatically upgrades the weapon that you have. Additionally, they're going to have special abilities, again, leaning on that virtual reality side of things where it's not the real world, so they can play around with stuff. So you can have pick up an ability that creates a wall. Very similar to the building in Fortnite, but instead it's a little bit different where it's like this 2 to 3 story wall that suddenly springs up. And because we're in an urban environment with close buildings, it totally blocks off the street, allowing you a means to escape. What I've seen of the video too is that not only is it an urban environment on the streets, but you can go into the buildings. The windows and doors are clearly marked with this shimmering orange, not pixelated, but kind of like triangle.
Like a glow or an outline or something.
Well, it's got triangles in it, almost like an unfilled texture. And you're able to break through those. And if you see where it's been broken through, somebody's been in there, they've either stolen everything or they're about to attack you. But there's stairways to go up in the buildings. So all these buildings are fully populated in the inside, similar to like a PUBG, except for a lot more vertical. In addition to that, instead of having a circle that contracts, they do have, it's a battle royale. Let's be honest here. There's going to be something to force you in towards the middle. But instead of just a plain old circle and just be nebulous of okay, what's going on here? Because it's virtual reality, it's basically de-resing everything around you. So at first, some of the textures start becoming corrupted. You can see the triangles and the textures and everything. And, they start to lose color until they're just really dark gray and black. And then from there, they completely start to disintegrate. So you have a very good visual cue of how far into the circle you are, how far along it is to this disintegration. So how long you can hang out and fight in there as opposed to moving forward. Lastly, One of the changes that they've thrown in there is you don't have to win by defeating the other two teams. When it gets down to the final circle, a crown appears. So you have the option of your team completely eliminating the other two teams, or you have the option of someone grabbing that crown and your team has to maintain possession of that crown for, I think, 35 seconds or something along that. And you can end up winning that way by dodging and jumping and using all of these movement mechanics that they've built into this game.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm super excited just for the fact that it's another battle royale.
True.
How many more are we going to have? It seems like Ubisoft's a little kind of late on the train for that, especially having, of course, I can't say they've been missing out, really. With Rainbow Six Siege, they've been, I'm sure, making plenty of money based on that.
And for years.
Yeah, exactly. So I think one of the biggest things that I'm going to be looking for in Hyperscape is going to be the fact of what is different. What's the original factor that's going to keep me wanting to play this, over and over. As we saw in Apex, the pinging system was something that no other game had. It was something
the communication
very simple.
was amazing there.
Yeah, very simple. Don't even have to have a headset on to talk to somebody. That I could use the ping, and then from that, of course, PUBG took it. Fortnite implemented a way to do it. So it's some of those things that just something like that, really small, that they potentially could add in. Maybe that crown system you're talking about. But that's who knows? We'll see what happens with it.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is if you're not sure whether you're going to like it or not only did they announce it today, but they announced that it's going to be targeted release for summer 2020. Oh, wait, that's now. Yeah, it's not released now, but what they're doing is they're doing the technical test now that's going to run from July 2nd to July 7th. So it's already in progress. You can jump in there. You can test out that technical test. And then from the understanding is it's not going to be too long after that technical test that they're going to fully release this thing. So we're going from announcement to release probably within a month's time. So pretty amazing that they kept it under wraps for this long.
I was going to say they must have had to keep it under wraps at that point then. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully, like I said, Ubisoft has been around for a while. They've made a lot of great games. I mean, I don't think they're going to be going into this with like a half attitude or anything like that. But I just hope there's some sort of originality there that really makes me want to play it again. But we'll see. I mean, I can't say it's going to be bad or good, but we'll see.
Absolutely. So that was the last of our big stories. So we're going to move on to a segment that we call News for the Short Attention Span, very much like
Get
us. So each of these we're just going to talk about for a short little bit.
So Cyberpunk 2077 announced that they are dropping the wall running as it was causing issues for design. It's something that Project City Red decided that it was actually hurting the game potentially more than it was actually getting a gain out of it. So they decided to go ahead and X that out, which to me, think is great, because if they know that something is not working or it potentially could cause issues, go ahead and get rid of it now. I mean, we really haven't been able to play it, so I don't think there's a problem with that.
Yeah, and some of it I heard is even level design is what it was hurting. And for something that is primarily going to be an RPG and not necessarily an FPS, level design is going to have to take some priority there.
Right.
Also for Cyberpunk 2077, some journalists got their hands on it, of course, recently and been playing it, and they were able to confirm that, yes.
Wait for it.
You can pet the cat.
You can pet the cat.
Very much like the Twitter account, Can You Pet the Dog, who checks for games that can they pet the dog or not. Looks like one of the journalists found out that there was a cat in the story. They were able to pet it. No word, however, right now of whether you can actually pet the dog yet. We'll have to find out later.
Ladies and gentlemen, we can pet the cat. I think our job here is done.
Also, another interesting thing that I ran across was this thing called the Couchmaster Psychon. It's a surface about 32 inches wide that you put your keyboard on, put your mouse pad and mouse on, and then attached to it are two bolsters that run down the side that will run either side of your legs that are fairly tall. They looked like they were about like 6 to 8 inches tall, made out of memory foam to support your arms while you're using the surface. And it looked like a fantastic thing to someone who, especially in the Rona economy, the way it is, might be spending a lot more time on their couch and needing to be able to use a computer that way. Not always is it as comfortable to be sitting as many hours in front of your desk in a computer chair. Or even for those that are afflicted by anything that causes them to be bedridden, this looks like a fantastic device to be able to give them the ability to either work more comfortably or even game more comfortably.
Awesome. The next thing we got on our list is for Konami fans, we have Death Stranding actually coming to PC, announced for July 14th, which is right around the corner for us. They're going to be bringing the game in full force quality to our PCs. From a PC gamer writer, Andy Kelly, he actually tested it out recently, said it's beautiful. There's a whole article, if you go to PC Gamer, you can read it. But basically, even with his high-end computer, he said that it was all the frames were there. He was getting at least 60 frames a minute or frames a second, and it looked beautiful. So it's something to look forward for there, especially with those who don't have a PlayStation to play that release on there.
Absolutely. Also, an older game seeing new life, although much older, Halo Combat Evolved. The original Halo game is actually getting new skins for Looks like vehicles, possibly even weapons too, for the first time in 19 years. They're doing a graphical update to this game 19 years later. So I'll be interested to see what they actually do. And also, I'll be interested to see if those same skins and everything are available in Halo that's playable through the Master Chief Collection.
That's what I was about to ask for the Xbox Pass, because I know they just released that recently. So that may be part of that.
Maybe. We'll see.
So Harry Potter fans rejoice, sort of. There's a rumor, kind of a slight rumor, that basically there's going to be a new Harry Potter game that's been actually in the works, and a little bit of it kind of leaked out recently. So all we know is that Warner Brothers is trying to release a Harry Potter game. It's going to be a full action RPG, or an RPG, sorry, I'm not saying action RPG. But it's basically announced for, looks like late 2021 right now. The only thing with that, obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's kind of hard to say that there's a hard release date right now. But we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, also something related to how COVID has affected release dates is Universal Studios has been working with Nintendo to create the theme park add-on of Super Nintendo World, starting off in Japan, and they have decided to delay that primarily due to the concerns of COVID and, you know, introducing an area where people would get too close and contribute to the spread of that disease. So they are delaying the opening of the Japan Super Nintendo World, which of course means that the Florida Super Nintendo World, which is still in the process of being built, we'll see how much that gets delayed as well, because construction could be delayed as well there. But it does sound like it's going to be an exciting kind of theme park to go to, with the fact that they're doing things like magnetic wristbands where you can like punch up at virtual blocks and be able to get items out of it. They're going to have rides, of course, based on Nintendo properties, including, you know, Mario Kart. So that'll be interesting to see how that works with, you know, all the drops and weapons that we're used to in that game.
Yeah, I mean, they can definitely take my money.
Yeah. One last thing that I actually forgot to make a title for, and I don't know why I forgot to do this, but apparently Konami, the company that used to make video games, although they still do make some soccer games and a couple mobile games, but they used to make like the Metal Gear Solid series. They actually got a bomb threat from a 16-year-old high school student in Japan who is upset about the fact that a bug happened in the game he was playing, the Konami mobile game, that caused him to lose.
Wow.
So, I mean, I hate to say something like, you know, 10, 15 years ago that it would have been laughed off a little bit more, because, I mean, even bomb threats back then were taken fairly seriously. But, you know, once it was found out it was to be a child doing it, you know, it kind of blew over pretty quickly. But, you know, in this day and age, something like that, where we do have children that are taking things too far, you know, that they seem to be taking it seriously, and Tokyo police have already taken that individual into custody and started the process of determining what's going on. So hopefully everything ends up being safe, and hopefully if he just made a dumb mistake, that this isn't going to haunt him for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's something you can't really play around with at any point, and especially right now. So,
absolutely not. Okay, normally the next section would be for emails, but the emails are dependent on you, our listener. So if you would like to have your email selected and read aloud and have our opinion on what you say or what you ask us, you can email us at goa@sasgaming.com. That's GOA, for got our attention, at sasgaming.com. And we'll take a look at what you send in, and we'll make some choices on which ones we want to read aloud and add it into the section. Other than that.
All right. Well, that's what got our attention this week, everybody. I hope if you're listening to the podcast, you can check out the podcast live with video on Twitch, currently at 8:30 on Thursdays on channels Phoennix Nova, Phoenix_Nova, that's Phoenix with 2 N's, and Xycia on Thursday nights, that's XYCIA. And then if you like what you heard, please follow us on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. We have our podcast available on pretty much any platform at this point that you probably use. So make sure to check us out there and subscribe. And then once again, if you have any questions or any concerns or even any ideas, feel free to email us at that again is goa@sasgaming.com. Until next week, you guys stay safe out there and have a great 4th weekend. Take care.
Yep. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.